Okay, welcome. This is the first lecture of our course, and the way it'll go is that we will go over some slides. It'll be about 10 or 15 minutes, and then you will have some time to work on some of questions that go along with these slides. And to start us off, we're going to start talking about anatomy and physiology and how it all works and how do we study anatomy and physiology. So the study of the structures is anatomy. That's the point of the muscle, what's the name, the bones, and things like that. And it's divided into what we call gross anatomy, which are the big surfaces, like the actual bone, like your femur, your bicep, and those things. And then it's microscopic. Microscopic is going to be looking at what we call histology, and that's about the structure, about the cells that make up those things. And then we also have developmental, a part of anatomy, and that's about how organisms or how our bodies develop over time from the embryo or embryology. Now, the study of the essential tools for anatomy is usually a master of the terminology. That's really what anatomy is learning those names and what they mean and how it goes together. Now, the getting that is going to be essential, and this whole first chapter is going to be essentially learning the verbiage, the language of anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is a lot about observation, manipulation, palpation, and acoustication, so how it sounds. Now, physiology is where all the fun comes in. Now, physiology is how everything works, how it all comes together, and how it's based upon those things that make you you and work together to create homeostasis in your body. The anatomy is the structure. The physiology is the how it functions, the why. Now, physiology, the essential tools of physiology is the ability to focus on many levels and kind of start to make connections between things. That's why it was so important to do that part of understanding the cell and understanding the membrane and homeostasis and membrane transport as we move in, because those things are essential to understanding how physiology works, how the why. And the understanding of physiology, once you know the how it works, then you can understand what happens when you get into a disease state, how it gets out of balance, and how our body works to use the systems it has to move it back into balance. Very good understanding is basics, principles of physics. So understanding electrical currents, pressure, and movement. Physiology has a lot of those basic fundamentals that you find in physics. Basic chemistry principles are also involved in understanding how physiology works. The principles of complementary, this is where, when we talk about physiology, where it comes together, anatomy and physiology going hand in hand. The idea that structure and function, that structure and function are completely related together, and those two things are basically inseparable. They work together, and the structure dictates how it's going to function, and the function is dictated by its structure. It goes hand in hand. So when you see what the structure looks like, gives you then ideas of how those structures will function, and vice versa. So the way we're going to start looking at the organization, and this is a lot of what you've learned before, is how animal and things are organized. Remember that we have atoms. Atoms come together to make up molecules. Molecules then come together to make up cells. Cells have the organelles. Cells come together to make up tissue. Different 3 to more tissue types, like types of tissue, come together to make up an organ. Organs that work closely together make up an organ system. Organ systems all together in you make up what you call the organism, which is all of those organ systems together. So that levels of organization or structural organization, you can look at this. Atoms make up molecules. Molecules have all kinds of different types, especially when you're talking about, in biology, you're talking about 4 of the macromolecules. That's proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates. Those things, molecules, come together. They structures, like the structures up in the cells. The cells come together to make up a type of tissue. Types of tissue come together to make up an organ, like a blood vessel. How you see it has muscle, it has epithelial, it has connective tissue, it has all these different things. All of the organs then come together to make up the organ system, like the cardiovascular, which is kind of the heart, the vessels, and all that together. And then that in turn works together with other organ systems to come together to make up the organism. So all of those things work together. And this is the system levels of organization. An overview. This is just going to be an overview of all of the major organ systems. We'll go into detail as we move through, but we're going to talk about them just in general right now and some basic ideas and functions of those organ systems. The first one is the integumentary system. Integumentary system, again, is that outside skin. It's all your skin and all your membranes that hold in and protect the body. So the integumentary systems, that's your hair, your nail, your skin, those things. Now, if your skin, if it doesn't have a wet layer on it, then those cells are dead. So the majority of like your skin on the outside, the hair, all those are dead cells. They're not alive. Live or living cells must be always surrounded by water. So like the epithelial cells, or cells that surround the inside of your mouth because they're always bathed in water, those are actually living cells and are actually part of a living system. Now, as cells that are in what we call the mucosa, those that line your digestive tract, all those are kinds of living cells. Then you're going to have your skeletal system. That skeletal system is for support and provides that framework, but it also is a storage for calcium, and it is the place where your blood cells are made. So your blood cells are made in your bone marrow, and so your bones actually produce your red blood cells and white blood cells, platelets, and other cells that are part of your blood. The muscle system. The muscle system is for movement, locomotion, expression. Now, it also can help for producing and maintaining heat. It also is a very reservoir for calcium. You have the nervous system. The nervous system really contains of the brain, the spinal cord, and all of the nerves that move out through the body. They are fast acting, so they make things happen very quickly, whereas like they help you to interact with the environment, and they make that interaction in the environment happens very, 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 very quickly in rapid response. Whereas something like the glands are going to be a slow acting mechanism. So the endocrine system, which are your glands, this secretes hormones for growth and reproduction. But when we talk about how the reactions and movements and things of the endocrine system, they usually have a very dramatic effect that happens very slowly, but usually is permanent. Whereas the nervous system happens very rapidly and quick, but is usually not permanent. So if you like the endocrine system is going to release growth hormones. It's going to make all your bones grow long and stuff like that. That happens over a long period of time. And then you reach a point in time and it stops. Okay, so we're going to stop here at the endocrine system and pick up later with the rest.